Welcome, dear friend, to a journey through the most peaceful place on earth during the most restful season of the year. Tonight, we're going to discover something truly magical together. As millions of people around the world have found, there's something incredibly soothing about learning gentle science while your mind naturally drifts toward sleep. And what better subject than the autumn forest, where every falling leaf carries a story, every changing color holds a secret, and every quiet moment teaches us about the beautiful rhythm of rest. Right now, as you settle into your comfortable spot, I want you to know that you don't need to worry about remembering everything we'll explore tonight. This isn't a test, and there won't be any pressure. Instead, think of this as a warm conversation between friends, where fascinating knowledge flows like a gentle stream, carrying you peacefully toward the most restful sleep. Some listeners tell me they fall asleep during the leaf color section. Others drift off when we explore the underground forest networks. And many find themselves peacefully sleeping as we discover the mathematics hidden in tree branches. Wherever sleep finds you tonight, that's exactly where you're meant to be. The autumn forest holds secrets that most people never discover. Did you know that trees actually begin preparing for winter months before we even notice the first color change? Or that the ground beneath your feet in a fall forest is alive with more communication than a busy city? Tonight, we'll uncover these gentle mysteries and so many more. We'll learn why that particular autumn smell makes you feel so calm. Discover the fascinating reason some leaves fall straight down while others dance in the air. And explore the beautiful science behind why autumn forests feel like the most peaceful places on earth. Imagine, if you will, stepping into a perfect autumn forest, just as the afternoon light filters through the changing leaves. The air is crisp but not cold, carrying that distinctive scent that immediately makes you feel at home. Your footsteps create the softest crunching sound on the leaf-covered path, and somewhere in the distance, you can hear the gentle rustling of leaves letting go of their branches. This is where our journey begins tonight, in this place of natural tranquility where science and serenity dance together like leaves on an autumn breeze. As we walk deeper into this imaginary forest together, you'll discover that every sight, sound, and sensation has a story rooted in fascinating science. But here's what makes tonight special. We're going to explore these wonders in the most relaxing way possible, allowing each piece of knowledge to settle into your mind as gently as a leaf drifting to the forest floor. So get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin our peaceful journey into the autumn forest, where learning feels like meditation and knowledge becomes a pathway to the most restful sleep. Let's start with the question that captures everyone's heart when autumn arrives. Why do leaves transform into those breathtaking colors that make us stop in our tracks and simply stare in wonder? The answer lies in one of nature's most beautiful examples of preparation and rest. And understanding it might just change how you see every autumn for the rest of your life. All summer long, leaves have been wearing their green uniforms, working tirelessly like tiny solar panels to capture sunlight and create food for their trees. This green color comes from chlorophyll, a remarkable molecule that's basically the leaf's hard-working employee, showing up every day to do the essential job of photosynthesis. Chlorophyll is so abundant and so busy during the growing season that it completely masks all the other colors that are actually hiding in the leaf, waiting patiently for their moment to shine. But here's where the story becomes truly magical. As the days grow shorter and the temperatures begin to cool, trees receive nature's gentle signal that it's time to prepare for rest. Just like how you might start winding down your day as evening approaches, trees begin their own peaceful transition toward winter dormancy. The first thing they do is stop producing new chlorophyll, and gradually that dominant green color begins to fade away, like curtains slowly being drawn back to reveal the beautiful colors that were there all along now. You might wonder why trees would want to hide such beautiful colors all summer long. The answer is both practical and poetic. During the growing season, efficiency is everything. Trees need that chlorophyll working at maximum capacity to create the energy they need to grow, produce seeds, and store resources for winter. Having other pigments competing for attention would be like trying to focus on a important task while wearing a dazzling outfit, beautiful but not necessarily practical. So nature, in its infinite wisdom, saves the spectacular color show for when the hard work of the year is done. As the chlorophyll breaks down and disappears, it reveals the carotenoids that have been present in the leaves all along. These are the pigments responsible for the warm, comforting yellows and oranges that make autumn feel like a cozy embrace. Carotenoids are the same compounds that give carrots their orange color and egg yolks their golden hue. They've been there in the leaves all summer, like background singers waiting for their chance to step into the spotlight. When they finally get their moment, they create those butter yellow maples and golden birches that look like they're glowing from within. But the story doesn't end there. And this is where autumn's color display becomes even more fascinating. Unlike carotenoids, which are simply revealed when chlorophyll fades, anthocyanins are actually created fresh each autumn. These are the pigments responsible for the deep reds, vibrant purples, and rich burgundies that take your breath away. Trees actually expend energy to produce these compounds, which might seem puzzling at first. Why would a tree preparing for winter dormancy choose to create brand new pigments? The answer reveals nature's incredible foresight and care. Anthocyanins act like a natural sunscreen for leaves, protecting them from damage during those bright, cool autumn days when sunlight can actually harm leaves that are in the process of withdrawing their nutrients. They're also powerful antioxidants, helping to protect the leaf tissues as the tree carefully recycles valuable resources back into its trunk and roots. It's like the tree is taking extra care to protect its leaves during this delicate transition, ensuring that every bit of stored energy can be safely transferred to where it's needed for winter survival. Temperature plays a fascinating role in this color symphony, and understanding this might help you appreciate why some autumns seem more spectacular than others. Cool nights help preserve those beautiful anthocyanins that create the red colors, while warm days continue to promote their production. This is why those perfect autumn days, sunny and warm during the day, crisp and cool at night, produce the most breathtaking fall displays. The trees are literally responding to the weather patterns, creating more intense colors when conditions are just right. Soil conditions add another layer to autumn's color story that most people never consider. Trees growing in slightly acidic soil tend to produce more intense reds, while those in neutral or alkaline soil lean toward more yellow and orange displays. The minerals available to the tree, the moisture levels, and even the overall health of the tree all contribute to the intensity and variety of autumn colors. This is why even trees of the same species growing just a few hundred yards apart might display different color patterns. There's something deeply comforting about understanding that these color changes aren't random or chaotic, but rather the result of careful, systematic preparation. Each tree is following an ancient rhythm, responding to signals that have guided forest cycles for millions of years. The shortening days trigger hormonal changes in the tree, much like how seasonal changes affect our own sleep patterns and energy levels. As daylight hours decrease, trees begin producing less auxin, a growth hormone that helps keep leaves attached to branches. This hormonal shift is the beginning of the tree's journey toward rest. The timing of these color changes varies not just by species, but by individual trees, creating a beautiful progression that extends the autumn display over several weeks. Early changing trees like sumac and poison ivy might begin their transformation in late summer, while oaks often hold their colors well into late autumn. This staggered timing means that autumn's color show unfolds like a slow, peaceful wave across the landscape, giving us time to savor each phase of the transition. What's particularly beautiful is that this entire process is essentially the tree version of getting ready for sleep. Just as you might dim the lights and create a peaceful environment before bed, trees are gradually shutting down their active growth processes, withdrawing nutrients from their leaves, and preparing for a long, restorative rest. The brilliant colors are like nature's version of a beautiful sunset, a gorgeous finale to the active season before settling into peaceful dormancy. As we watch these color changes unfold each autumn, we're witnessing one of nature's most elegant examples of preparation and surrender. Trees don't fight the changing seasons. They embrace the transition, creating beauty in the process of letting go. There's something deeply calming about this natural acceptance, this willingness to rest when rest is needed, and to find beauty in the process of slowing down. As we walk deeper into our autumn forest, breathing in that crisp air filled with the scent of changing leaves, let's discover the incredible world of activity that's happening all around us. While the trees are preparing for their winter rest, the entire forest community is engaged in their own fascinating preparations. And understanding these gentle activities reveals nature's most beautiful lessons about planning, cooperation, and finding peace in life's natural rhythms. Look up into the trees, and you might catch a glimpse of a gray squirrel pausing on a branch, cheeks bulging with acorns. These remarkable little creatures are some of autumn's most dedicated workers, but they approach their preparations with a methodical calmness that's actually quite inspiring. Squirrels don't frantically collect nuts in a panic about winter coming. Instead, they follow an ancient rhythm, gathering food with the patience and persistence of someone who understands that steady, consistent effort leads to security and peace of mind. A single squirrel might cache thousands of nuts throughout the autumn months. And here's what's particularly fascinating. They don't just bury them randomly. Squirrels have an incredible spatial memory system that allows them to remember not just where they've hidden food, but what type of food they've stored in each location. They tend to bury nuts that spoil quickly in locations they plan to visit soon, while storing nuts that keep well in spots they might not return to until late winter. This isn't conscious planning in the way humans might think about it, but rather an instinctive wisdom that ensures their winter needs are met through careful autumn preparation. Even more remarkably, squirrels actually contribute to forest regeneration through their catching behavior. They inevitably forget the location of some of their stored nuts, and these forgotten caches often sprout into new trees the following spring. So while squirrels are preparing for their own winter survival, they're simultaneously planting the next generation of forest trees. It's a beautiful example of how individual preparation can benefit the entire community, creating abundance for everyone through simple, focused actions. Bears are engaging in their own fascinating autumn preparations, though their approach is quite different from the busy squirrels. As the days grow shorter, bears enter a phase called hyperphagia, where they consume enormous amounts of food to build up fat reserves for winter hibernation. But what's particularly interesting is how calm and methodical they are about this process. Bears don't stress about winter coming. They simply follow their natural instincts, eating when food is abundant and gradually slowing down their activity levels as their bodies prepare for the deep rest of hibernation during autumn. Bears spend up to 20 hours a day foraging for food, consuming up to 20,000 calories daily. They're particularly drawn to nuts, berries, and roots that are at peak ripeness during the fall months. But even with this massive food consumption, bears maintain a peaceful demeanor, often spending long periods simply resting and digesting between feeding sessions. Their autumn behavior teaches us something beautiful about preparing for rest. Sometimes the most important preparation is simply allowing ourselves to slow down and nourish ourselves properly. The bird activity in autumn forests creates some of nature's most peaceful sounds, and understanding what's happening adds another layer of tranquility to the autumn experience. Many birds are in the midst of migration, but contrary to what you might imagine, this isn't a frantic rush south. Birds migrate based on ancient genetic programming and environmental cues, following routes they've never traveled before with an innate confidence that's truly remarkable. They often migrate at night, using stars for navigation, and during the day, they rest and feed in forests along their migration routes. Listening to migrating birds in an autumn forest is like eavesdropping on gentle conversations between travelers sharing stories of their journey. Different species have different migration schedules, so autumn forests host a constantly changing population of birds, each adding their own notes to the forest's symphony. Some birds, like chickadees and nuthatches, don't migrate at all, but instead spend autumn establishing winter territories and changing their diet too. Include more seeds and nuts. Their cheerful calls create a continuous soundtrack of contentment throughout the autumn forest. What's particularly soothing is understanding that all this bird activity follows natural rhythms that have been perfected over millions of years. Birds don't worry about their migration. They simply respond to internal signals that tell them when it's time to travel and when it's time to rest. This instinctive trust in natural timing creates an atmosphere of calm confidence that permeates the entire forest. Insects in the autumn forest are engaged in their own fascinating preparations, though their activities are so quiet and subtle that most people never notice them. Many insects spend autumn finding cozy places to overwinter, tucking themselves into bark crevices, under logs, or in leaf litter where they'll enter a state of dormancy called diapause. This is essentially insect hibernation, where their metabolism slows dramatically, allowing them to survive winter without actively searching for food. Ladybugs gather in large groups under rocks or logs, clustering together for warmth and protection. Monarch butterflies undertake one of nature's most remarkable migrations, traveling thousands of miles to wintering grounds they've never seen before. Woolly bear caterpillars curl up under leaves, where they'll actually freeze solid during winter and emerge unharmed in spring. These quiet preparations happen all around us in the autumn forest, creating an atmosphere of peaceful industry where every creature follows their instinctive wisdom about how to prepare for rest and renewal. Now, let's explore one of the autumn forest's most fascinating secrets: the incredible underground network that connects every tree, shrub, and plant in ways that scientists are only beginning to understand. Beneath our feet, as we walk through the carpet of fallen leaves, lies a communication system more complex and cooperative than the internet. and understanding it reveals some of nature's most beautiful lessons about community and mutual support. Tree roots extend far beyond what we can see above ground, but they don't work alone. Interwoven with every root system is a network of thread-like fungal structures called mycorrhizae. These fungi form partnerships with tree roots, trading nutrients and resources in a mutually beneficial relationship that's been evolving for hundreds of millions of years. Through this fungal network, trees can actually share resources with each other, sending nutrients to struggling neighbors and receiving support when they're in need. During autumn, this underground network becomes particularly active as trees prepare for winter. Healthy trees with abundant resources might send excess nutrients through the fungal network to younger trees, or those growing in less favorable conditions. Parent trees have been observed sending significant amounts of carbon and nutrients to their offspring, even when those young trees are growing in the shade and unable to photosynthesize effectively. It's like an underground care package system that ensures the entire forest community has the resources needed to survive. This network also serves as a communication system, allowing trees to send chemical signals warning of pest attacks, diseases, or environmental stresses. When one tree is attacked by insects, it can send chemical signals through the mycorrhizal network that prompt neighboring trees to increase their own defense compounds. This early warning system helps the entire forest community prepare for challenges, creating a level of cooperation that's both scientifically fascinating and deeply inspiring. The soil itself is alive with activity during autumn months, though this activity is characterized by a gentle, methodical pace that mirrors the overall atmosphere of seasonal preparation. Earthworms work tirelessly to process fallen leaves, breaking down organic matter and creating the rich, fertile soil that will nourish next year's growth. Their quiet work aerates the soil and distributes nutrients, creating optimal conditions for tree roots and the beneficial microorganisms that support forest health. Beneficial bacteria in the soil are also highly active during autumn, breaking down organic matter and making nutrients available to plant roots. Some bacteria actually help trees prepare for winter by producing compounds that act as natural antifreeze, protecting root systems from cold damage. This microscopic level of cooperation and support creates the foundation for the entire forest ecosystem, demonstrating how even the smallest contributions can have tremendous impact on community well-being. The fallen leaves themselves become part of this gentle underground activity. As leaves decompose, they release nutrients slowly throughout autumn and winter, providing a steady source of nourishment for the entire forest community. This decomposition process is carefully orchestrated by countless soil organisms, each playing their part in recycling organic matter and maintaining the forest's nutrient cycles. There's something deeply peaceful about understanding that nothing in the forest is ever wasted. Everything contributes to the ongoing cycle of growth, rest, and renewal. What emerges from understanding these autumn forest ecosystems is a beautiful picture of community preparation and mutual support. Every creature, from the tiniest soil bacteria to the largest trees, is engaged in activities that benefit not just themselves, but the entire forest community. There's no competition or stress in these preparations, just the calm following of ancient instincts that have proven successful over countless generations. This natural cooperation creates an atmosphere of peace and security that we can feel whenever we spend time in autumn forests. Even if we don't consciously understand all the supportive activity happening around us, as we continue our gentle journey through the autumn forest, Let's pause to appreciate one of nature's most peaceful and mesmerizing phenomena. The way leaves detach from their branches and drift toward the forest floor. There's something infinitely calming about watching a single leaf let go and dance its way downward. And understanding the beautiful science behind this process reveals nature's most elegant lessons about letting go with grace and finding peace in surrender. The process of leaf drop begins long before we notice the first fallen leaves on the ground. Throughout late summer and early autumn, trees begin forming what scientists call an abscission layer at the base of each leaf stem. This is essentially a natural separation zone, where the tree gradually weakens the connection between leaf and branch. It's not a violent or sudden process, but rather a careful, methodical preparation that allows leaves to separate cleanly when the time is right. The formation of this abscission layer is controlled by plant hormones, particularly the decreasing levels of auxin that we mentioned earlier. As auxin levels drop with shorter days and cooler temperatures, specialized cells begin forming across the leaf stem. These cells have weakened walls that will eventually allow the leaf to detach with the gentlest pressure from wind or gravity. It's like nature's version of a planned, peaceful separation. There's no struggle or force involved, just a natural releasing when conditions are perfect. What's particularly beautiful about this process is that trees actively prepare each leaf for its departure. Before the abscission layer fully forms, trees withdraw valuable nutrients from the leaves, recycling nitrogen, phosphorus, and other essential compounds back into the trunk and root system, where they'll be stored for winter and used for spring growth. This careful resource management ensures that nothing valuable is lost when leaves fall. It's all preserved and conserved for future use. The timing of leaf drop varies, not just between species, but between individual leaves on the same tree, creating that gradual, peaceful progression that extends autumn's beauty over many weeks. Leaves that are damaged by insects or disease often drop first, followed by older leaves, and finally by the youngest, healthiest leaves. This staged dropping pattern means that trees maintain some photosynthetic capacity well into autumn, while gradually reducing their energy expenditure as they prepare for winter rest. Once a leaf detaches from its branch, physics takes over in the most graceful way imaginable. The path a falling leaf takes depends on several factors: its size, shape, weight, and the air currents around it. Broad, flat leaves like maple leaves tend to rock back and forth as they fall, creating that mesmerizing dance we love to watch. This rocking motion is caused by air flowing over the leaf surface differently on each side, creating alternating pressure differences that tip the leaf first one way, then the other. Smaller, more streamlined leaves, like those from birch trees, tend to fall more directly, with less dancing but often with a gentle spinning motion. Needle-shaped leaves from conifers drop almost straight down, their aerodynamic shape offering little resistance to airflow. Each leaf type has evolved a shape that serves its primary function, capturing sunlight efficiently during the growing season. But these shapes also create their own unique falling patterns, adding variety and beauty to autumn's leaf drop display. Air resistance plays a crucial role in how leaves fall, and understanding this creates a deeper appreciation for the gentleness of the process. Unlike a rock or other dense object that would fall quickly and directly to the ground, leaves have a large surface area relative to their weight, which means air resistance has a significant effect on their descent. This is why leaves flutter and dance as they fall, rather than simply dropping straight down. The air actually supports and carries leaves, allowing them to drift gently rather than crash to the forest floor. Wind patterns within the forest create additional complexity and beauty in leaf-fall patterns. Autumn forests often have complex air currents created by temperature differences between sunny and shaded areas, as well as air movement around tree trunks and through branches. These micro-wind patterns can carry leaves considerable distances from their parent trees, creating the mixed carpet of different leaf types that makes walking through autumn forests so delightful. Leaves might spiral upward on a warm air current before gently settling down elsewhere, or ride gentle breezes that carry them to perfect resting spots far from where they began. The sound of falling leaves adds another dimension to the autumn forest experience, and the physics behind these sounds is fascinatingly subtle. When leaves hit other leaves, branches, or the forest floor, they create soft rustling sounds that vary depending on the leaf's size, dryness, and what it lands on. Fresh, pliable leaves make different sounds than dry, brittle ones. Large leaves create deeper tones, while small leaves produce higher-pitched whispers. The layered effect of many leaves falling simultaneously creates a complex symphony of gentle sounds that forms part of autumn's peaceful soundtrack. Once leaves reach the forest floor, they begin their next phase of contribution to the forest ecosystem. And this process is as gentle and methodical as their falling was graceful. Decomposition in autumn forests happens slowly and peacefully, unlike the rapid breakdown that might occur in warmer, moister environments. Cool autumn temperatures and lower humidity mean that fallen leaves break down gradually, maintaining their structure for weeks or even months while slowly releasing nutrients into the soil. That the decomposition process begins with the softer parts of leaves. The thin blade areas break down first, while the more structural parts like veins and stems persist longer. This gradual breakdown ensures a steady release of nutrients throughout autumn and winter, providing consistent nourishment for soil organisms and tree roots. It's like a time-release system that nature has perfected to provide steady support. During the tree's dormant period, soil organisms play crucial roles in this decomposition process, but their work follows the same peaceful, unhurried pace that characterizes all autumn forest activities. Earthworms pull leaves into their burrows, where the leaves are gradually broken down and mixed with soil. Beneficial fungi colonize fallen leaves, breaking down tough cellulose and lignin fibers, while creating networks that help distribute nutrients throughout the soil. Countless microscopic organisms contribute to the process, each playing their small part in the grand recycling system that keeps forests healthy and productive. The layer of fallen leaves also serves important protective functions for the forest floor. This natural mulch insulates tree roots from temperature extremes, helping to prevent freeze damage during cold snaps and maintaining more stable soil temperatures throughout winter. The leaf layer also helps retain soil moisture, preventing excessive drying during warm autumn days and protecting soil organisms from harsh conditions. It's like nature's own blanket system, providing comfort and protection for all the quiet life resting beneath the forest floor. What's particularly beautiful about understanding the physics and biology of falling leaves is recognizing how this entire process embodies principles of peaceful transition and graceful letting go. Trees don't cling to their leaves when the season changes. They prepare carefully for separation and then release them gently when the time is right. The leaves themselves don't resist falling. They dance gracefully through the air, supported by the very atmosphere they're moving through, until they find their resting place on the forest floor, where they continue to contribute to the forest's well-being. There's something deeply calming about watching this process and understanding the science behind it. Each falling leaf represents a perfect example of natural wisdom, knowing when to hold on and when to let go, preparing carefully for transitions, and finding beauty and grace even in endings. The gentle physics of leaf fall creates one of autumn's most meditative experiences, offering us a peaceful focal point for reflection and a beautiful metaphor for life's own transitions and changes. Let's pause now in our autumn forest journey and simply listen. Close your eyes if you'd like, and notice the subtle symphony that surrounds us. The soundscape of an autumn forest is unlike any other season, and understanding why these particular sounds are so deeply calming reveals fascinating insights about both the physics of sound and the psychology of peace. The most obvious sounds in our autumn forest are the gentle rustlings and whispers created by leaves, both those still clinging to branches and those carpeting the forest floor beneath our feet. When wind moves through trees that still hold their autumn leaves, it creates a softer, more muffled sound than the sharp rustling of summer's full canopy. This is because autumn leaves are drier and more brittle than summer leaves, creating different acoustic properties. They break and crackle rather than bend and swoosh, producing those satisfying whispers that seem to carry secrets on the breeze. The sound of footsteps on fallen leaves is one of autumn's most distinctive and comforting audio experiences. Each step creates a complex mixture of crunches, crackles, and soft shuffles as leaves compress and shift under our weight. This sound varies depending on the types of leaves. Oak leaves create deeper, more substantial crunches, while maple leaves produce sharper crackles. And the smaller leaves of birch and aspen create a softer, more delicate rustling. The layered effect of walking through mixed leaf litter creates a rich, complex sound texture that many people find deeply satisfying and calming. But autumn forests aren't just about the sounds that leaves make. They're also characterized by the sounds they absorb and filter. During summer, when trees are fully leafed, forests act as natural sound dampeners, absorbing and scattering sound waves with their dense canopies. In autumn, as leaves thin and many branches become bare, the acoustic properties of the forest change dramatically. Some sounds carry farther and clearer, while others are absorbed by the thick carpet of fallen leaves on the ground. This change in acoustic properties explains why autumn forests often feel more intimate and peaceful than summer forests. The combination of some sound absorption from the leaf carpet below and less sound scattering from the thinning canopy above creates an acoustic environment where sounds feel both clear and muffled, present but not overwhelming. It's like nature's own acoustic engineering, designed to create the perfect environment for peaceful contemplation. Bird songs in autumn forests have their own special character, different from the territorial singing of spring or the busy family chatter of summer. Autumn bird calls tend to be gentler, more conversational, and less urgent than spring mating calls. Many birds are engaged in quiet foraging activities, creating soft scratching sounds as they search through leaf litter for insects and seeds. The calls they make are often simple contact calls, gentle ways of staying in touch with family members or flock mates without drawing attention from predators. Migrating birds add their own peaceful notes to the autumn soundscape. The soft calls of birds passing overhead, often heard but not seen, create a sense of connection to the larger rhythms of nature. These migration calls are typically different from territorial or alarm calls, They're designed for long-distance communication and maintaining flock cohesion, so they tend to be clear, simple, and somehow reassuring. Listening to these calls creates a sense of witnessing something ancient and important, a reminder that we're part of much larger natural cycles. The absence of certain sounds also contributes to autumn's peaceful character. Gone are the intense buzzing of summer insects, the constant chatter of nesting birds, and the rushing sounds of vigorous plant growth. Instead, the autumn forest settles into a quieter rhythm where subtle sounds become more noticeable and meaningful. The gentle drip of morning dew from branches, the soft pattering of an occasional leaf falling, the distant sound of a woodpecker working methodically on a tree. These quieter sounds create space for reflection and inner peace. Water sounds in autumn forests have their own special quality that's different from other seasons. Stream flow is often lower and more gentle than during spring runoff or summer storms, creating softer, babbling and trickling sounds. When rain falls on the forest, it creates a complex layered sound as raindrops hit different surfaces, some drumming on remaining leaves, others pattering on bare branches, still others creating soft thuds as they hit the leaf-covered ground. This variety of rain sounds at different levels creates a three-dimensional audio experience that's incredibly soothing. Morning mist and fog, common in autumn forests, create their own subtle acoustic effects. Sound travels differently through humid air, often seeming muffled and softened. Distant sounds might fade in and out as fog banks shift, creating an ethereal quality that adds to the mystical feeling of autumn forests. The sound of water droplets condensing and occasionally dropping from branches creates tiny, almost subliminal audio punctuation that adds to the sense of gentle, ongoing natural processes. The acoustic signature of an autumn forest also includes the sounds of animals preparing for winter, though these are often so subtle that they barely register consciously. The soft scratching of squirrels digging to bury nuts, the gentle rustling of small mammals moving through leaf litter, the quiet munching sounds of insects and other creatures feeding on fallen fruit. These sounds create an undertone of peaceful activity that suggests life continuing its essential rhythms, without rush or stress. Wind patterns in autumn forests create their own complex soundscapes. As trees lose their leaves, wind flows differently through the forest structure, creating new patterns of sound and silence. Bare branches produce different tones than leafy ones when wind moves through them, sometimes whistling softly, sometimes creating gentle whooshing sounds, sometimes remaining completely silent as air flows smoothly around their streamlined forms. These varying wind sounds add dynamic elements to the forest's audio environment while maintaining the overall sense of peace and natural rhythm. One of the most fascinating aspects of autumn forest acoustics is how the human brain processes these natural sounds. Research has shown that natural soundscapes, particularly those with the complex but gentle layering found in autumn forests, can actually synchronize with our brainwaves in ways that promote relaxation and peaceful mental states. The random but predictable patterns of natural sounds, leaves rustling irregularly but consistently, water flowing with natural variations, birds calling at unpredictable but not alarming intervals, seem to match the brain's own preferences for engaging but not demanding audio input. This acoustic environment creates what psychologists call soft fascination, a state where attention is gently engaged without being stressed or overstimulated. Unlike urban soundscapes that often contain jarring, unexpected, or potentially threatening sounds. Autumn forest acoustics provide consistent reassurance that all is well. The sounds we hear are all explainable and non-threatening. They're the sounds of natural processes continuing peacefully, of life adapting and preparing in its ancient rhythms. The layered nature of autumn forest sounds also creates a natural form of sound masking that many people find deeply relaxing. The constant, gentle background of settling leaves, distant water, and soft air movement helps mask intrusive thoughts or worries, allowing the mind to settle into a more peaceful state. This is similar to the way white noise machines work, but with the added benefit of natural variation and the psychological comfort that comes. As we settle deeper into our exploration of the autumn forest, let's turn our attention to the magical weather patterns that make fall feel like nature's most perfect season for rest and reflection. The atmospheric conditions that create those crisp, clear autumn days are the result of fascinating meteorological processes, and understanding them helps us appreciate why autumn air feels so refreshing and why autumn skies seem so brilliantly blue and peaceful. The weather patterns we associate with perfect autumn days begin with Earth's gradually shifting relationship with the sun. As our planet continues its annual journey around the sun, the northern hemisphere tilts away from the sun's direct rays, creating the shorter days and longer nights that trigger all the beautiful changes we've been exploring. But this astronomical shift also creates the atmospheric conditions that make autumn weather so distinctively pleasant. Cool, dry air masses from northern regions begin to dominate weather patterns, pushing away the hot, humid air that characterizes summer. These cooler air masses are typically drier because cooler air can't hold as much moisture as warm air. This is why autumn air often feels so crisp and refreshing. There's literally less moisture in it, making each breath feel clean and invigorating. The lower humidity also means that sweat evaporates more efficiently from our skin, helping us feel comfortable even when we're active outdoors. The interaction between these cool, dry air masses and the still warm earth creates some of autumn's most beautiful atmospheric effects. During clear autumn nights, heat radiates away from the Earth's surface more efficiently than during humid summer nights, creating those wonderfully cool temperatures that make sleeping so comfortable. But during the day, the sun can still warm the air significantly, creating those perfect temperature contrasts that define ideal autumn weather. Cool mornings that warm to comfortable afternoons, before cooling again into peaceful evenings. These temperature variations also create the conditions for one of autumn's most magical phenomena: morning mist and fog in forest valleys. As cool night air settles into low-lying areas where streams and ponds hold slightly warmer water, the temperature difference creates fog through a process that's both scientifically fascinating and visually stunning. The warm water evaporates into the cool air, but the cool air can't hold all that moisture, so it condenses into tiny droplets that hang suspended in the air, creating that ethereal, dreamlike quality that makes autumn mornings feel so peaceful and mysterious. Walking through a misty autumn forest is like moving through a living cloud, and understanding the science behind fog makes the experience even more magical. Each tiny droplet of fog is pure water, condensed from invisible water vapor in the air. These droplets are so small and light that they can float indefinitely in still air, but they're constantly forming and reforming as temperature and humidity conditions change. This is why fog often seems to shift and swirl even when there's no apparent wind. It's responding to tiny changes in temperature and air. movement that we can't directly sense as the sun rises and begins to warm the forest. The fog gradually dissipates in a process that's like watching nature wake up in slow motion. The warming air can hold more moisture, so the tiny fog droplets evaporate back into invisible water vapor. But this doesn't happen all at once. Fog lifts gradually, often revealing the forest layer by layer, first showing tree trunks, then branches, and finally the full canopy as the mist rises and disappears into the warming air. Barometric pressure patterns also contribute to autumn's characteristically stable, peaceful weather. High-pressure systems, which bring clear skies and stable conditions, tend to be more common and longer-lasting during autumn months. These high-pressure systems create what we call fair weather, those long stretches of sunny days with comfortable temperatures and gentle breezes that make autumn such a perfect time for spending time outdoors. The stability of these weather patterns means that autumn days often feel predictable and reliable, contributing to the season's overall sense of peace and security. The angle of sunlight during autumn creates another aspect of the season's peaceful atmosphere, because the sun is lower in the sky than during summer months. Sunlight filters through the atmosphere at a greater angle, which scatters more of the blue light and allows warmer colors, oranges, yellows, and reds, to reach our eyes more directly. This is why autumn light often has that golden, honey-colored quality that photographers love. This warm light is not only beautiful, but also psychologically comforting, creating the kind of illumination that makes everything look peaceful and inviting. The clarity of autumn air, combined with lower humidity, also makes distant views much clearer than during summer months. Mountain ranges that might be hazy and indistinct in summer suddenly appear sharp and detailed in autumn air. This increased visibility adds to autumn's sense of openness and spaciousness, making outdoor spaces feel larger and more expansive. There's something deeply satisfying about being able to see clearly into the distance, and autumn's atmospheric conditions maximize this pleasant visual experience. Within the forest itself, temperature variations create fascinating microclimate effects that add another layer to autumn's atmospheric complexity. The forest floor, insulated by fallen leaves, maintains more stable temperatures than open areas, creating a buffer zone that moderates temperature swings. Tree trunks absorb solar heat during the day and release it slowly at night, creating slightly warmer temperatures near trees compared to open spaces. These subtle temperature variations create gentle air currents within the forest that contribute to the peaceful rustling sounds we explored earlier. The way trees modify humidity levels within the forest creates another important aspect of autumn's comfortable atmosphere. Even as overall humidity levels drop during autumn, trees continue to release moisture through their remaining leaves in a process called transpiration. This means that forest interiors often maintain slightly higher humidity levels than surrounding open areas, creating air that feels fresh and comfortable rather than dry and harsh. This forest-modified humidity helps explain why spending time among trees feels so refreshing and why forest air seems to have healing qualities. Weather patterns also include some of nature's most dramatic but peaceful displays. Autumn thunderstorms, when they occur, often have a different character than summer storms. They tend to be less violent and more brief, with the cooler air unable to sustain the intense convection that creates severe summer storms. Instead, autumn storms often bring gentle, steady rains that soak into the forest floor and provide the last deep watering before winter dormancy. The sound of autumn rain falling on fallen leaves creates one of nature's most soothing soundscapes. The interaction between autumn's cooler temperatures and the thermal mass of forest systems creates stable, comfortable conditions that seem designed for peaceful outdoor experiences. Large trees, which have absorbed heat all summer, release this stored thermal energy slowly throughout autumn, moderating temperature swings and creating those perfect mild days, when the air temperature feels exactly right for any activity. This natural temperature regulation system means that autumn forests often provide the most comfortable outdoor conditions of the entire year. Wind patterns during autumn also contribute to the season's peaceful character. The massive storm systems that can create destructive winds during other seasons are less common in autumn, replaced by gentler pressure gradients that create moderate, comfortable breezes rather than intense winds. These autumn breezes are strong enough to help leaves complete their graceful journey to the forest floor, but gentle enough to feel refreshing rather than harsh. The sound of these moderate winds moving through partially bare trees creates those soft whooshing sounds that form part of autumn's peaceful soundtrack. Temperature inversions, a common autumn phenomenon, creates some of the season's most peaceful atmospheric conditions. During clear, cool nights, cold air settles into valleys and low areas while warmer air remains at higher elevations. This creates very stable atmospheric conditions that can persist well into the morning, contributing to those perfectly still, quiet mornings when sound carries clearly and the air feels almost magical in its clarity and freshness. These inversion conditions often coincide with fog formation, creating those mystical morning scenes that make autumn forests feel like enchanted places. The extended twilight periods of autumn create another atmospheric gift that contributes to the season's peaceful character. Because the sun is at a lower angle in the sky, sunset and sunrise periods last longer than during summer months, providing extended periods of soft, golden light that gradually transitions to or from darkness. These longer twilight periods seem to slow down time itself, creating natural opportunities for reflection and peaceful observation of the changing light and atmosphere. Understanding these weather patterns and atmospheric conditions helps explain why autumn feels like nature's invitation to slow down and appreciate the world around us. Every aspect of autumn's atmosphere, from the crisp, clear air to the gentle mists, from the golden light to the comfortable temperatures, seems designed to create the perfect conditions for peaceful outdoor experiences. These aren't random weather events, but predictable patterns that have repeated for millions of years, creating the atmospheric backdrop for autumn's annual display of natural beauty and seasonal preparation. As we walk deeper into our peaceful autumn forest, surrounded by trees that are gradually preparing for their winter rest, let's explore one of nature's most remarkable and calming processes: how trees prepare for dormancy. Understanding this beautiful biological transition reveals profound lessons about the wisdom of rest, the importance of preparation, and the peaceful rhythms that govern all living things. The transition into dormancy isn't something that happens suddenly to trees. It's a gradual, methodical process that begins months before the first frost and continues well into winter. Trees don't simply fall asleep the way animals might. Instead, they systematically shut down non-essential processes, conserve resources, and restructure their cellular systems to survive months of cold, dry conditions with minimal energy expenditure. This careful preparation is like watching nature's most patient and thorough approach to getting ready for a long, Restorative rest. The first signs of this preparation begin in late summer, long before we notice any visible changes in the forest. Trees start by gradually reducing their metabolic activity, slowing the production of new cells and beginning to withdraw nutrients from their leaves. This is triggered by the decreasing daylight hours, which trees detect through specialized light-sensitive proteins in their leaves. As days grow shorter, these proteins send chemical signals throughout the tree, essentially announcing that it's time to begin preparing for winter rest. One of the most fascinating aspects of this preparation is how trees modify their cellular structure to protect against freezing damage. Water inside cells can freeze and expand, potentially rupturing cell walls and killing the tree. To prevent this, trees begin producing specialized compounds that act like natural antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from forming inside their cells. These compounds, called include sugars, amino acids, and other organic molecules that lower the freezing point of cellular. Water trees also reduce the water content in their cells, concentrating these protective compounds and making it even less likely that damaging ice crystals will form. This dehydration process happens gradually and safely, unlike the harmful dehydration that might occur during drought stress. The tree carefully controls this water removal, maintaining just enough moisture to keep cells alive while eliminating excess water that could freeze and cause damage. It's like the tree version of preparing for a long journey by packing only the essentials. The formation of winter buds is another remarkable aspect of tree dormancy, preparation that demonstrates nature's incredible foresight and attention to detail. Long before winter arrives, trees form protective structures around next year's growth points, encasing tiny leaves and branches in layers of modified leaves called bud scales. These bud scales are often covered with waxy or resinous substances that provide additional protection against cold, wind, and moisture loss. Inside these protective buds, next year's growth is already planned and prepared, waiting patiently for spring's warmth to trigger development. What's particularly amazing is that trees don't just prepare for survival, they prepare for optimal spring growth. The buds formed in autumn contain not just protective structures, but also stored energy and preformed tissues that will allow rapid growth when favorable conditions return. This advanced preparation means that trees can take immediate advantage of spring warmth and longer daylight, maximizing their growing season by eliminating the need to start growth processes from scratch. The root systems of trees undergo their own fascinating preparations for winter dormancy. While above-ground portions of the tree are shutting down, roots often remain active much longer, continuing to grow and absorb nutrients even after leaves have fallen. This extended root activity allows trees to maximize their nutrient uptake and storage before winter sets in. Roots also begin producing their own antifreeze compounds and modify their cellular structure. To survive soil freezing, tree roots have an additional challenge that above-ground portions don't face. They must survive in soil that may freeze solid for extended periods. To meet this challenge, roots often grow deeper during autumn, extending into soil layers that are less likely to freeze completely. They also form associations with soil fungi that help protect root tips and continue nutrient exchange even under challenging winter conditions. These fungal partnerships become particularly important during dormancy when the tree's own metabolic processes are minimized. The bark of trees thickens during autumn preparation, adding extra insulation that protects the living tissues underneath from temperature extremes. Different tree species have evolved different bark strategies for winter protection. Some trees, like paper birch, have thin bark with multiple layers that can expand and contract without cracking. Others, like oak, develop thick, deeply grooved bark that provides excellent insulation. Still others, like cherry trees, produce bark with a waxy coating that helps prevent moisture loss during winter. Hormone levels throughout the tree change dramatically during dormancy preparation, orchestrating the complex series of biological changes needed for successful winter survival. Growth hormones like auxin and gibberellin decrease significantly, while stress hormones and protective compounds increase. This hormonal rebalancing ensures that the tree's energy is redirected from growth activities to protective and bone maintenance functions. It's like the tree's internal chemistry is being completely restructured for a different mode of existence. The timing of dormancy preparation varies among different tree species, creating the staggered autumn color changes we enjoy each year. Early dormancy trees like sumac and poison ivy begin their preparations in late summer, while late dormancy species like oaks may continue some active processes well into autumn. This variation in timing is an evolutionary adaptation that helps reduce competition for resources and ensures that different species aren't all making the same demands on soil, nutrients at the same time. What's particularly beautiful about understanding tree dormancy is recognizing how perfectly these biological processes align with the natural rhythms of seasonal change. Trees don't fight against winter or try to maintain summer activity levels in autumn conditions. Instead, they embrace the seasonal transition, using it as an opportunity for rest, restoration, and preparation for future growth. There's something deeply calming about this natural acceptance of life's rhythmic changes. The energy conservation strategies that trees employ during dormancy are remarkably sophisticated. By shutting down non-essential processes, trees can reduce their energy requirements by up to 90% during winter months. This dramatic reduction in energy needs allows trees to survive for months on stored resources, while maintaining just enough biological activity to stay alive and ready for spring reactivation. It's like the most efficient hibernation system imaginable, perfectly calibrated for long-term survival with minimal resource expenditure. Cellular repair processes actually increase during dormancy, even as other biological activities decrease. With reduced demands from growth and reproduction, trees can dedicate more resources to repairing damage accumulated during the active growing season. This winter maintenance period helps ensure that trees emerge from dormancy in optimal condition, ready to take full advantage of spring growing conditions. It's nature's version of using downtime for maintenance and restoration. The protective mechanisms that trees develop during dormancy preparation extend beyond just freeze protection. Trees also prepare for winter's dry conditions by developing more efficient water conservation systems, thicker, waxy coatings on remaining surfaces, and modified cellular structures that minimize water loss. These adaptations help trees survive not just cold temperatures, but also the dry conditions that often accompany winter. Whether understanding tree dormancy reveals profound wisdom about the importance of rest and preparation. In natural systems, trees demonstrate that periods of reduced activity aren't signs of weakness or failure. They're essential phases that allow for conservation, restoration, and preparation for future growth. The methodical, patient way that trees prepare for dormancy offers beautiful lessons about approaching our own need for rest and renewal with the same careful attention and respect for natural rhythms. As we stand among these quietly preparing trees, we can appreciate that we're witnessing one of nature's most sophisticated survival strategies. Every tree around us is engaged in complex biological preparations that will allow them to rest peacefully through winter and emerge renewed in spring. There's something deeply comforting about being surrounded by these examples of natural wisdom. These living demonstrations that rest and renewal are not just beneficial, but essential for long-term health and vitality. Let's pause in our autumn forest journey and take a deep, slow breath. Notice how the air itself seems different here among the trees, carrying scents that immediately make you feel calmer and more connected to the natural world around you. The distinctive fragrances of an autumn forest aren't just pleasant accidents. They're the result of complex chemical processes that reveal fascinating secrets about how plants communicate, protect themselves, and contribute to the forest's overall health and peaceful atmosphere. That unmistakable autumn forest smell that makes you want to breathe deeply and linger comes from a complex mixture of volatile organic compounds released by decomposing leaves, soil, microorganisms, and trees themselves. As fallen leaves begin their slow transformation back into soil nutrients, they release hundreds of different chemical compounds into the air. These compounds include terpenes, which create fresh, piney scents, aldehydes, which contribute sweet, sometimes vanilla-like fragrances, and organic acids that add subtle, earthy undertones to the forest's aromatic symphony. The decomposition process that creates many of these scents is beautifully gradual and controlled. Unlike rapid decay that might occur in hot, humid conditions and produce unpleasant odors, the cool, moderate conditions of autumn forests allow for slow, aerobic decomposition that releases pleasant, earthy fragrances. Beneficial soil, bacteria, and fungi break down organic matter in ways that produce compounds similar to those found in expensive perfumes. Complex molecules with names like geos, which creates that distinctive petrichor smell we associate with fresh earth after rain. Geosmin is particularly fascinating because it's produced by soil bacteria called actinomycetes. As they break down organic matter, human noses are incredibly sensitive to geosmin. We can detect it at concentrations as low as 1 part per billion. This extraordinary sensitivity suggests that our ancestors who could detect good, healthy soil had survival advantages, and this ability has been passed down to us. When you smell that rich, earthy fragrance in the autumn forest, you're actually detecting chemical evidence of healthy soil. Biology at work. Trees themselves contribute significantly to the autumn forest's fragrance profile through their own chemical communications and protective responses. Many trees increase their production of aromatic compounds during autumn as part of their preparation for winter dormancy. These compounds serve multiple purposes. They can act as natural antifungal and antibacterial agents, protecting the tree from opportunistic infections during the vulnerable transition period. And they also serve as chemical signals to other trees in the forest network. The communication aspect of forest fragrances is particularly remarkable. Trees can release chemical compounds that warn neighboring trees about insect attacks, disease pressures, or environmental stresses. These airborne chemical messages allow trees to prepare their defenses before they're directly threatened, creating a community-wide early warning system. When you breathe in the complex fragrances of the autumn forest, you're actually inhaling part of an ongoing chemical conversation between the trees around you. Different tree species contribute their own signature scents to the forest's aromatic blend. Pine and fir trees release compounds called monoterpenes, which create those fresh, clean scents that make coniferous forests smell so refreshing. Oak trees produce compounds that contribute woody, sometimes slightly astringent notes. Maple trees add sweet, sometimes spicy fragrances, while birch trees can contribute wintergreen-like scents from compounds similar to those found in mint plants. The combination of these species-specific fragrances creates the unique aromatic signature of each forest ecosystem. Humidity plays a crucial role in how we perceive forest fragrances, and autumn's moderate humidity levels create ideal conditions for scent appreciation. Very dry air can't carry aromatic compounds effectively, while overly humid air can make scents feel overwhelming or cloying. Autumn's balanced humidity allows forest fragrances to be carried efficiently through the air while remaining pleasant and subtle. This is why autumn forest walks often provide the most satisfying olfactory experiences of the year. The psychological effects of natural forest fragrances are well documented and fascinating. Research has shown that inhaling certain compounds found in forest air can actually reduce stress hormones, lower blood pressure, and promote feelings of calm and well-being. This effect is so pronounced that forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku as it's known in Japan, has become a recognized therapeutic practice. The autumn forest's rich bouquet of natural fragrances provides an ideal environment for these beneficial psychological effects. One group of compounds that contribute significantly to these therapeutic effects are phytoncides, antimicrobial substances released by plants to protect themselves from harmful bacteria, fungi, and insects. When we inhale phytoncides during forest walks, they can boost our own immune system function and promote relaxation responses in our nervous system. Different trees produce different phytoncides, so the diverse tree community in a typical autumn forest provides a complex mixture of these beneficial compounds. The timing of fragrance release varies throughout the day, creating a subtle but noticeable change in the forest's aromatic character from morning to evening. Cool morning air often carries more subtle, earthy scents close to the forest floor, while warming afternoon air lifts more volatile compounds higher into the forest canopy, creating different fragrance experiences at different times of day. Evening cooling can intensify certain scents as compounds that were dispersed during the day settle back toward ground level. Rain and moisture dramatically affect forest fragrances, often intensifying and releasing scents that might be barely noticeable during dry conditions. The process of rain hitting dry soil and organic matter releases a burst of aromatic compounds in a phenomenon that has its own special name. This word, derived from Greek terms meaning stone and the fluid of the gods, perfectly captures the almost magical quality of that distinctive scent that rises from the earth during and after rain. The seasonal progression of forest fragrances tells its own story of the year's changes. Early autumn might feature the green, slightly sharp scents of leaves beginning their chemical changes. As autumn progresses, these give way to the warmer, richer scents of advanced leaf decomposition and increased soil activity. Late autumn brings the clean, crisp scents of dormant trees and the deep, earthy fragrances of well-established decomposition processes. Each phase has its own aromatic signature that unconsciously helps us track the seasons. Progression, mushrooms, and fungi add another layer to autumn's fragrance profile, often contributing sweet, sometimes nutty or woody scents that complement the other forest fragrances. As fungi become more active in the cool, moist conditions of autumn, Their metabolic processes release aromatic compounds that add complexity to the forest's chemical symphony. Some of these fungal fragrances are so pleasant and distinctive that they've inspired perfume makers and aromatherapy practitioners. The concentration of aromatic compounds is often highest near the forest floor, where decomposition processes are most active. This is one reason why the simple act of walking slowly through an autumn forest, breathing naturally and allowing yourself to notice the subtle fragrance variations, can be so therapeutic. You're essentially giving yourself a session of natural aromatherapy, inhaling a complex blend of compounds that have been shown to promote relaxation and well-being. Wind patterns within the forest create constantly changing fragrance experiences as different aromatic zones mix and separate. A gentle breeze might carry the pine scent from a distant grove, followed by the earthy richness of nearby decomposing leaves. Then the subtle sweetness of late blooming flowers. This ever-changing aromatic landscape keeps the olfactory experience interesting and engaging without being overwhelming. Understanding the chemistry behind forest fragrances deepens our appreciation for these natural perfumes and helps explain why spending time in forests feels so restorative. Every breath we take in the autumn forest is filled with chemical messages about the health and vitality of the ecosystem around us. These natural fragrances connect us to the forest's biological processes in a direct, intimate way that engages our senses and promotes both physical and psychological well-being. The fact that human beings find these natural forest fragrances so appealing and calming suggests a deep evolutionary connection to forest environments. Our positive response to these scents may reflect millions of years of human ancestors who found safety, food, and shelter in healthy forest ecosystems. When we breathe in the complex bouquet of autumn forest fragrances, we're connecting with something fundamental in our biological heritage that recognizes these scents as signals of a safe, healthy environment. As we continue our peaceful journey through the autumn forest, let's discover one of nature's most beautiful and calming secrets: the hidden mathematics that creates the patterns, structures, and designs we find so soothing and harmonious. Mathematics in nature isn't the intimidating subject you might remember from school. It's gentle, organic, and perfectly integrated into the beauty around us. Understanding these natural mathematical principles reveals why forest scenes feel so balanced and peaceful to our minds. Look closely at the leaf you might pick up from the forest floor, and you'll discover that its shape follows mathematical principles that have been refined over millions of years of evolution. The branching pattern of leaf veins follows what mathematicians call fractal geometry, patterns that repeat at different scales, creating structures that are both efficient and beautiful. The main vein of the leaf branches into smaller veins, which branch into even smaller ones, and so on, with each level of branching following similar proportional relationships. This fractal branching isn't random. It follows mathematical rules that optimize the leaf's ability to transport water and nutrients while maximizing its surface area for photosynthesis. The angles at which veins branch, the spacing between branches, and the proportional sizes of different vein levels all follow mathematical relationships that create the most efficient possible distribution network. What's remarkable is that these mathematical optimizations also create the patterns that our brains find most visually pleasing and restful. The Fibonacci sequence appears throughout the autumn forest in ways that might surprise you. This famous mathematical sequence, where each number is the sum of the two preceding numbers, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and so on governs many plant structures in ways that optimize their growth and function. Look at a pine cone, and you'll often find that the spirals of scales follow Fibonacci numbers. Count the spirals going in one direction, then count those going in the other direction, and you'll frequently find adjacent Fibonacci numbers like 5 and 8, or 8 and 13. This isn't coincidence, it's the result of mathematical optimization that occurs naturally as plants grow. The Fibonacci pattern allows pine cones to pack the maximum number of seeds into the available space while ensuring that each seed has optimal access to light and space for dispersal. The mathematics happen automatically as the cone grows, with each new scale positioning itself at the optimal angle relative to the previous ones. This optimal angle, approximately 137.5 degrees, is related to the golden ratio and creates the spiral patterns we find so aesthetically pleasing. Tree branch patterns also follow fascinating mathematical principles that balance structural efficiency with resource optimization. The angle at which branches split from the main trunk, the spacing between branches, and the proportional sizes of branches all follow mathematical relationships that minimize structural stress while maximizing access to sunlight. These branching angles, typically between 30 and 70 degrees, create the most stable structures capable of supporting the tree's weight while withstanding wind loads. The golden ratio, approximately 1.618, appears frequently in forest structures. From the proportional relationships between tree trunk diameters and heights to the spacing of branches along stems, this ratio seems to represent a mathematical sweet spot that balances competing biological needs, growth efficiency, structural stability, and resource distribution. When we look at trees that follow golden ratio proportions, they appear particularly balanced and pleasing to our eyes, suggesting that our aesthetic sense may be attuned to these mathematical harmonies. Leaf arrangements around tree branches often follow mathematical patterns that optimize light capture while minimizing shading between leaves. The most common arrangement follows a pattern where each leaf is positioned at approximately 137.5 degrees from the previous leaf as you spiral around the branch. This creates a distribution that ensures no leaf is directly above another until you've gone around the branch multiple times, maximizing each leaf's access to sunlight. This mathematical arrangement, based on the golden angle, creates the efficient, beautiful spiral patterns we see in many forest plants. The shapes of individual leaves often approximate mathematical curves that optimize their biological functions. Many leaves follow shapes similar to mathematical curves called ellipses or parabolas, which provide the maximum surface area for a given perimeter length. This maximizes photosynthetic capacity while minimizing the energy needed to build and maintain the leaf structure. The smooth, flowing curves of these mathematically optimized shapes contribute to the peaceful, harmonious feeling we get when looking at natural forms. Root system patterns, underground, follow their own mathematical principles, often resembling what mathematicians call diffusion-limited aggregation patterns. These patterns optimize the root system's ability to explore soil for water and nutrients while minimizing competition between different roots from the same tree. The mathematical principles governing root growth create networks that are remarkably similar to river systems, lightning patterns, and even blood vessel networks, all examples of nature using similar mathematical solutions for similar distribution problems. The spacing between trees in a healthy forest follows mathematical patterns related to competition for resources, and optimal growth conditions. Trees position themselves at distances that balance the benefits of clustering protection from wind, shared resources through root networks with the costs, competition for light and nutrients. This natural spacing often approximates patterns that mathematicians study in optimization theory, creating forest layouts that appear random but actually follow subtle mathematical rules. Seasonal growth patterns in trees follow mathematical curves that reflect the optimization of growth timing with environmental conditions. The rate at which trees grow throughout the growing season often follows curves similar to logistic functions or sine waves, with rapid early growth gradually tapering off as resources become limiting or as the tree prepares for dormancy. These growth curves represent mathematical solutions to the complex optimization problem of when and how fast to grow for maximum long-term survival. The spiral patterns we see in many forest structures, from pine cones to leaf arrangements to branch patterns, all relate to a mathematical principle called This term describes the mathematical rules governing how plant parts are arranged to optimize space, utilization, and resource access. The spirals that result from these mathematical principles create some of nature's most beautiful and calming patterns, and our positive response to these spiral forms may reflect an intuitive appreciation for their mathematical elegance. Fractal geometry appears at multiple scales throughout the forest ecosystem. Not only do individual leaves show fractal branching in their vein patterns, but entire trees display fractal-like branching from trunk to major branches to twigs. River systems through forests follow fractal patterns, as do the networks of mycorrhizal fungi connecting tree roots underground. These self-similar patterns at different scales create a visual harmony that our brains find particularly restful, and engaging the mathematics of forest acoustics also follow predictable patterns that contribute to the peaceful soundscape we explored earlier. Sound waves bouncing off tree trunks, being absorbed by leaves and soil, and traveling through forest air follow mathematical principles of wave physics. The natural spacing of trees creates acoustic conditions that filter and soften sounds in mathematically predictable ways, contributing to the calm, peaceful audio environment that makes forests such effective places for relaxation and contemplation. What's particularly beautiful about discovering mathematics in nature is realizing that these patterns aren't imposed from outside, they emerge naturally, as plants and ecosystems optimize their growth and function over time. The mathematics happen automatically as natural selection favors forms and patterns that work most efficiently. This means that the mathematical harmony we see in forests is the result of millions of years of natural experimentation and refinement. Understanding these mathematical principles helps explain why spending time in natural environments feels so restorative to human minds. Our brains seem to be naturally attuned to mathematical harmony and proportion, perhaps because these patterns signal healthy, well-functioning natural systems that our ancestors relied upon for survival. When we see mathematical harmony in forest patterns, our unconscious mind registers this as evidence of a safe, abundant environment where we can relax and restore. The presence of these elegant, mathematical patterns throughout the forest also suggests a fundamental order underlying the apparent randomness of natural systems. While individual trees, leaves, and forest events may seem chaotic, they're actually part of larger mathematical patterns that create stability and beauty at the ecosystem level. This hidden order contributes to the sense of peace and rightness that many people feel when spending quiet time in forest environments. As our peaceful journey through the autumn forest draws to its gentle close, let's take a moment to settle into the profound tranquility that comes from understanding the beautiful science surrounding us. We've discovered together that every aspect of this forest environment, from the graceful fall of a single leaf to the complex underground networks connecting every tree, reflects nature's most essential wisdom about balance, preparation, and the healing power of rest. Think back to all the gentle secrets we've uncovered during our time together. We learned how trees begin their careful preparation for winter dormancy long before we notice the first color changes, systematically withdrawing nutrients and forming protective barriers with the patience of ancient wisdom. We discovered that the brilliant autumn colors aren't signs of death or decay, but rather the revelation of hidden beauty that was present all along, waiting for the right moment to shine. These trees around us aren't ending their year in failure, they're completing it in triumph, having accomplished another successful growing season, and now preparing for the restorative rest that will renew them for years too. Come, we explored the fascinating world of forest sounds and learned why autumn's acoustic environment feels so peaceful to our minds. The gentle rustling of settling leaves, the soft whispers of wind through partially bare branches, and the quiet conversations of birds preparing for winter all combine to create nature's most effective sound therapy. These aren't random noises, but the audio signature of healthy natural systems functioning in harmony, providing our minds with the unconscious reassurance that all is well in this peaceful forest world. The underground networks we discovered reveal perhaps nature's most beautiful lesson about community and mutual support. Beneath our feet, trees share resources through fungal networks, sending nutrients to struggling neighbors and receiving support when they need it. They communicate through chemical signals, warning each other of dangers and coordinating their responses to environmental changes. This hidden cooperation creates the foundation for forest health and demonstrates that individual success and community well-being are intimately connected. The weather patterns and atmospheric conditions that make autumn feel so perfectly comfortable aren't accidents of nature, but the predictable result of Earth's relationship with the sun and the physics of changing seasons. The crisp, clear air that makes every breath feel refreshing, the gentle mists that create mystical morning scenes, and the golden light that makes everything glow with warmth, are all part of autumn's systematic creation of the most peaceful possible environment for reflection and rest. We learned about the remarkable biology of tree dormancy and discovered that rest isn't just beneficial for trees, it's absolutely essential for their long-term health and vitality. Trees demonstrate that periods of reduced activity aren't signs of weakness, but sophisticated survival strategies that allow for restoration, repair, and preparation for future growth. Their patient acceptance of seasonal rhythms offers profound lessons about embracing our own need for regular rest and renewal. The complex chemistry of forest fragrances revealed how trees communicate through airborne compounds and how these natural aromatics can actually improve our physical and mental well-being. Every breath we take in the forest is filled with beneficial compounds that reduce stress, boost immune function, and promote feelings of calm and connection. The forest is literally sharing its chemical wellness secrets with us, offering healing through the simple act of breathing its purified air. Perhaps most remarkably, we discovered the hidden mathematics that create the patterns, proportions, and structures that make natural scenes so visually harmonious and mentally restful. The fractal branching of tree limbs and leaf veins, the Fibonacci spirals of pine cones and leaf arrangements, and the golden ratio proportions found throughout forest structures all represent mathematical solutions that optimize both function and beauty. These patterns appeal to us because they reflect the fundamental order underlying apparent randomness. As you allow this knowledge to settle into your mind like leaves drifting gently to the forest floor, notice how understanding these natural processes deepens, rather than diminishes the sense of wonder and peace that forests provide. Science doesn't remove the magic from natural experiences. It reveals that the magic is even more profound than we imagined. Every tree around us is a masterpiece of biological engineering. Every falling leaf follows the elegant laws of physics. And every breath of forest air carries the chemical gifts of a community of living beings working together to create health and harmony. The interconnectedness we've discovered throughout our forest journey reflects a fundamental truth about all natural systems. Everything is connected to everything else through networks of mutual support and influence that create stability and resilience at the ecosystem level. Understanding these connections helps us recognize that we too are part of these natural networks, benefiting from and contributing to the web of relationships that sustain forest health and beauty. As your mind begins to settle into the peaceful state that comes from spending time in nature's classroom, allow yourself to feel gratitude for the remarkable world we've explored together. These forests have been developing their systems of beauty, balance, and mutual support for millions of years, creating the perfect environments for rest, restoration, and renewal. They offer these gifts freely to anyone willing to slow down, pay attention, and appreciate the gentle wisdom embedded in every natural process. The trees around us will continue their patient work throughout the night, slowly releasing stored energy, continuing their cellular maintenance processes, and preparing for tomorrow's subtle changes. Their roots will maintain communication with their fungal partners, sharing resources and information through networks that never sleep. The soil organisms will continue their quiet work of decomposition and nutrient cycling, preparing the foundation for next year's growth. All of this happens with a peaceful persistence that demonstrates nature's commitment to continuous care and improvement. As you prepare for your own rest, consider adopting some of the forest's wisdom about preparation and letting go, like the trees withdrawing nutrients from their leaves before letting them fall. You might gently release the day's concerns and tensions, keeping only what serves your well-being and letting go of what no longer benefits you, like the trees trusting their natural rhythms and accepting seasonal changes. You might trust your own body's wisdom about when rest is needed and surrender to sleep's restorative processes. The mathematical harmony we discovered in forest patterns suggests that there's a natural order underlying life's apparent complexity, a fundamental rhythm that connects all living things in patterns of mutual support and seasonal renewal. As you allow yourself to rest, you're participating in this ancient rhythm, following the same natural principles that guide trees into their peaceful dormancy and renewal cycles. Let your breathing gradually slow and deepen, like the gentle exchange of gases between forest plants and atmosphere. Feel your heartbeat settle into the calm, steady rhythm that matches the patient pulse of sap moving slowly through tree trunks in preparation for winter rest. Allow your mind to release its active work just as trees release their leaves, trusting that this letting go creates space for restoration and eventual renewal. The forest will be here when you return, continuing its quiet work of growth, rest, and mutual support. The trees will stand patient guard through the night, their roots connected in networks of care and communication that span the entire forest floor. They demonstrate through their peaceful presence that rest is not empty time but active restoration. Not withdrawal from life, but preparation for renewed engagement with all that life offers as sleep approaches like morning mist settling gently over the forest floor. Let yourself sink into the same trusting surrender that allows trees to release their leaves when the season is right. There's no struggle in this letting go, no resistance to the natural progression toward rest. Just as autumn leaves don't fight their falling, but dance gracefully through the air toward their resting place on the forest floor, you can allow yourself to drift peacefully towards sleep, supported by the invisible currents of natural rhythm and biological wisdom. The sounds of the forest will continue through the night, the soft settling of leaves, the gentle creaking of tree branches, the whispered conversations of night creatures following their own ancient routines. These sounds create a continuous lullaby of natural activity, a reassuring reminder that life continues its patient work even as individual beings rest and restore. You're part of this larger rhythm now, connected to the forest's cycles of activity and rest, growth and renewal. Feel your body settling like rich forest soil, stable and supportive, providing the perfect foundation for rest and restoration. Notice how your breathing naturally slows and deepens, like the gentle exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the forest plants and the atmosphere around them. Your heartbeat finds its own peaceful rhythm, echoing the slow, steady circulation of nutrients through tree trunks and root systems, preparing for winter's quiet maintenance period. The knowledge we've gathered during our forest journey becomes part of you now, settling into your memory like nutrients being absorbed by tree roots and stored for future use. You don't need to actively remember or review what we've learned. It becomes part of your understanding, enriching your connection to the natural world and deepening your appreciation for the peaceful wisdom embedded in every forest process. As your mind releases its hold on active thinking, imagine your thoughts becoming like autumn leaves, beautiful in their changing colors as they transform from the bright activity of daytime consciousness into the golden, peaceful hues of approaching sleep. Some thoughts may drift away completely, like leaves carried off by gentle breezes. Others may settle quietly nearby, available if needed, but no longer demanding immediate attention. The forest teaches us that every season serves its purpose. Every phase of the cycle contributes to the health and beauty of the whole. Your waking hours have served their purpose today, contributing to your growth, learning, and engagement with the world around you. Now it's time for the restoration phase, the quiet maintenance period when your body and mind can repair, integrate, and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities. Like trees drawing their life force deeper into their roots and trunk for winter protection, you can draw your awareness deeper into the quiet center of your being, where peace and restoration happen naturally. This isn't withdrawal from life, but a return to life's source, the deep wellspring of energy and vitality that sustains all growth and renewal. The mathematical patterns we discovered in forest structures reflect fundamental harmony that extends far beyond individual plants or even entire ecosystems. This harmony connects all living things in patterns of mutual support and balanced exchange that create stability and beauty throughout the natural world. As you rest, you participate in this larger harmony, your own biological rhythms synchronizing with the ancient patterns that have sustained life on Earth for millions of years. The chemical communications flowing through forest air continue their work of healing and restoration, and you carry the benefits of these natural compounds in your system as you rest. The phytoncides and other beneficial molecules you've absorbed during our forest journey continue to support your immune system and promote peaceful brain states long after our walk has ended. The forest's gifts of wellness accompany you into sleep, providing ongoing benefits that support both physical health and emotional well-being. Underground, networks of roots and fungi continue their patient work of resource sharing and communication, demonstrating that individual well-being and community health are inseparably connected. As you rest, you contribute to the larger human community by taking care of your own need for restoration and renewal. Well-rested individuals create healthier families, communities, and societies. Just as healthy individual trees contribute to thriving forest ecosystems, the seasonal rhythms that guide forest life offer profound wisdom about the importance of honoring natural cycles of activity and rest. Trees don't apologize for entering dormancy when winter approaches. They embrace this necessary phase of their annual cycle, understanding that rest makes possible the vigorous growth of spring and summer. Your own need for daily rest follows these same natural principles, supporting the ongoing cycles of learning, growth, and renewal that characterize a healthy, fulfilling life. As consciousness gently fades, like evening light filtering through forest trees, trust the same natural wisdom that guides trees through their dormancy preparation. Your body knows how to rest and restore itself, just as trees know how to prepare for winter and emerge renewed in spring. Your mind knows how to process and integrate the day's experiences during sleep, just as forest soil organisms know how to break down organic matter and create the nutrients that support new growth. The peaceful atmosphere we've created together through our exploration of forest science continues to surround and support you as you transition into sleep. The sense of wonder and connection we've cultivated becomes a protective presence, like the forest canopy that shelters and nurtures all life beneath it. You rest now in the embrace of natural wisdom, supported by millions of years of evolutionary perfection in the art of restoration and renewal. Let your final conscious thoughts be like the last golden leaves of autumn, beautiful in their letting go, graceful in their surrender to natural rhythms. Tomorrow will bring new opportunities for growth and discovery. Just as spring brings new leaves and fresh possibilities to forest trees, but now is the time for rest, for the deep, healing silence that allows restoration and renewal to work their quiet magic. The forest sleeps around you in its own way. Trees standing in peaceful dormancy, roots quietly sharing resources through underground networks, soil organisms working slowly and steadily to prepare the foundation for next year's growth. You are part of this vast, interconnected system of rest and restoration, supported by natural processes that have been perfected over countless generations of living beings. Sleep now in the gentle embrace of forest wisdom, trusting the same natural rhythms that guide all life through its cycles of activity and rest, growth and renewal. The forest will continue its patient work through the night, and you will continue your own essential work of restoration and healing through the deep, peaceful sleep that comes to those who understand and honor life's natural rhythms. Rest well in the knowledge that you are connected to something larger and more beautiful than you might have imagined, part of the elegant mathematical harmony that creates stability and beauty throughout the natural world. Sleep peacefully, knowing that tomorrow's light will reveal new opportunities to appreciate and learn from the endless wonders of the living world around us. The autumn forest holds you now in its peaceful embrace, offering the gifts of rest, restoration, and connection to the deeper rhythms that sustain all life. Sleep deeply, dream gently, and wake refreshed and renewed, carrying within you the quiet wisdom and enduring peace of the autumn forest, where every falling leaf teaches lessons about grace. Every tree demonstrates the beauty of patient preparation, and every breath of forest air offers healing for body, mind, and spirit. May your sleep be as peaceful as morning mist settling over quiet forest waters, as restorative as rich forest soil nurturing new growth, and as gentle as autumn leaves drifting softly down to their resting place on the forest floor. The wisdom of the forest goes with you now into the realm of dreams, where the deepest healing and renewal await those who trust in nature's ancient rhythms of rest and restoration. Sleep well, forest friend. Sleep deeply in the embrace of natural wisdom. Sleep peacefully in the knowledge that you are part of something infinitely beautiful and eternally renewing. The forest will be here when you return, continuing its quiet work of growth, healing, and renewal, always ready to share its gifts of peace and wonder with those who take time to listen to its gentle teachings.